everybody, and welcome back to Briarwood Kids Ask. We are at the Briarwood School here. My name is Dan Buck. I'm the director of the lower school. I am so privileged and honored to have two wonderful guests here. I have Greg Louganis, and I also have Brooke, a fifth grade student here. I'm sure you know who Greg Louganis is, but if not, he is known as the GOAT of diving, having amassed more awards than anyone in the sport, including 5 Olympic medals. He now brings that same inquisitive nature and passion for peak performance to everything he does as an author, public speaker, dog trainer, and podcast host. He spends his days with his pups, speaking about mental health, peak performance, and more. Greg is currently developing new content to educate, inform, and entertain his legions of existing and new fans. He can be reached through social media at Greg Louganis or through his website, greglouganis.com. I'm going to leave you two to ask questions. Feel free to ask anything between the two of you, and I'm going to turn the monitor over. All you, Brooke.
Hi.
Hi, Brooke.
Well, I just have a few questions for you today because I'm really excited to interview you. I've heard you've won a lot of gold medals.
Yeah.
Well, I have maybe like 16 questions I want to ask you, but I'm probably going to, probably add them in with you, like with my other questions, a couple. But the first question is, where are you from?
Where am I from? I was born in San Diego, and I grew up in El Cajon, which is a suburb of San Diego.
Oh, that's cool. Did you play any sports there?
Yeah, I started dancing and doing acrobatics when I was a year and a half, and I started performing on stage when I was 3. I did a tap number and I sang, and then I got a partner and for acrobatics and dance, and then she went into gymnastics, and I followed her to gymnastics, and then we had a pool built in our backyard, and so I was trying. We had a diving board. And I was trying some of my gymnastic stunts off the diving board at home, and my mother didn't want me to kill myself, so she got me lessons. So that's how I was about 8 years old then. And so that's how I started in diving.
Oh, well, you just answered like most of my questions. Did it ever feel hard for you, like when you were diving, and did you feel like scared or anything?
Yeah, when you're learning and you dive, it's really scary because you don't know what to expect. You're afraid you might smack. The biggest fear is smacking on the water, because that doesn't feel good.
Yeah.
And so that's the kind of biggest fear. So you have to work through that fear. Because when you're learning and you dive, then you do little parts of that dive at lower levels, and then you build your confidence in doing the takeoff the way that you want it to be able to do the more complex dive, the new dive. So we learn incrementally. We learn layer by layer by layer, just adding a little layer on, a little layer on, a little layer on, and build your confidence so that you kind of conquer your fear.
Yeah. So when did you know that you wanted to go to the Olympics?
Well, I kind of found myself at the Olympics when I was 16. So, I mean, I was only 16, and I was in training, and that was a path that other people kind of chose for me. And so I was just doing the work. I was just training and doing what I was told to do. And then I made it to the Olympics. So it wasn't really, when I was in gymnastics, I loved gymnastics, and it was my dream to make the Olympic team in gymnastics, but I never really had that dream in diving. It just happened.
Are you happy that you went to the Olympics though?
Yeah, I mean, it was an incredible experience. I've been able to travel all over the world, go to different countries, experience different cultures, and eat different foods. It really has been an incredible, travel is an incredible education.
Mm. Do you, I've been wondering this, and I know this is about it, but do you have dyslexia?
I am dyslexic. I didn't know about dyslexia when I started school. I stuttered,
Mm.
and so I was in speech therapy. I had difficulty reading. They didn't diagnose anything like that when I was young. It wasn't until I was a freshman in college, in my college English class, I was given dyslexia as a vocabulary word. And I read the definition, and it's like, oh my God, that's me. I recognized that that was the difficulty that I was having, because when I would read, I'd jumble the letters, and it was very challenging for me. It took a lot of energy and a lot of focus to try and even read a paragraph. So, and I just thought that was normal, and I just thought that the other kids were just working so much harder than I was
Yeah.
because they were getting it and I wasn't.
Oh, well, that's kind of what happened with me when I was little, but they kind of blamed it on my legally blind eye because I have a legally blind eye. But now I have contacts and glasses and stuff, so that's all okay now. But um, I just wanted to know if your dyslexia made you ever feel like that made you not want to like do your sports. Like, did that make you want to give up on diving and
Actually, it actually had the reverse effect,
oh,
because I could dance, I could dive, I could do gymnastics, I could do these physical things. But when it came to in the classroom and reading books and having to read a chapter of a book, and that was a struggle for me. And so at least I had my sports, I had diving, what I could show physically what I could do. I
mhm,
just didn't have a whole lot of confidence in intellectually, picking up studying history or social studies, or all of those things. I had a difficult time when it was a lot of reading.
yeah,
So yeah, but I could show people that I could do these other things.
yeah. Did other people like make you want to give up, or is it just did you only focus about your sports and just only you?
Well, I pretty much it because my first performance on stage was when I was 3.
Yeah.
you know, that was a kick, because the audience and all, and they're applauding, and that feels really, really good.
Yeah.
And so I could show people that I could perform, and so that was very, very rewarding for me. And so that's the reason why I kept going back, because it was fun. Other people were enjoying it, and it was it was a way that I could feel good about myself.
Oh, that's nice. Love, I feel like sports is like, that's the thing that makes me me. And school is like, I love it too, but like, I just always have to do something. I'm always active. I just can't stay still for like one moment. Um, so that's why I like to do sports, and that's why I'm so excited to interview you today. But I actually have one more question because you've been blowing through all these questions so fast. Do you have any advice for dyslexic kids today?
you know um I guess my advice would be is don't allow yourself to make that an excuse for not doing something,
Mhm,
because oftentimes we say, oh, I'm dyslexic, and give up.
mhm,
But it's important to push through, to see how far we can go. We may not be as good as somebody else, at something, but that's okay. But we're, but trying, and you might find something that you really, really like, because maybe you may be dyslexic, but there are a lot of creative people out there who are dyslexic. There's a lot of athletes out there who are dyslexic. And so not to use that as an excuse, but to recognize it and give yourself, a pat on the back for doing as much as you're doing.
Mhm. I actually, before I came to this school, I was like, wow, I wonder if like anybody's gonna be dyslexic. And so I came to this school and like everybody's dyslexic, and I'm like, wow, I'm not the only one. And then in TOPS, we learn about all the different people who are dyslexic, and I'm like, wow, there's like so much other people that do great things that are dyslexic. So that makes me want to do more great things because I want to be like that.
Yeah, the thing that fascinated me is we all can learn, whether you have dyslexia or if you're hearing impaired, sight impaired, we all have the ability to learn. It's just that we all might learn just a little differently.
Yeah.
So I really enjoy trying to figure out how I learn, because I did a one-man show and I had a lot of dialogue that I had to memorize. And so how I learned was I would read the script into a recorder and listen to my recording of me reading the script so I can pull the words and the stories off the page. So there are incredibly creative ways to learn. It just, you got to find what works for you.
Hmm. Like that kind of reminds me of how I like to do, like Alan mentioned before, I like to do lots of sports. And that kind of reminds me in track how you have to, like pace yourself and you have to find the right speed for you. So I'm really glad that you said that.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, in anything, right? You have to find what works for you.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Well, I just really want to thank you for letting me interview you today because you're really cool. And now I know all about you. And before I was like, wow, he's like an Olympian. And I'm like so nervous. But I'm really excited that I get to interview the real you today.
Yeah. And Olympians are just people too,
Yeah.
just like you.
Right. Cool. Well, Brooke, you did an awesome job interviewing Louganis. Thank you so much for being here today. We really appreciate your time. Till next time at Briarwood Kids Ask. See you next time at Briarwood School. Thank you very much. And until next time.
Thank you.
Thank you.